appears murky. This after bourbon maker Jim Beam announced yesterday it's halting production at its main distillery in Kentucky for at least a year so it can reevaluate consumer demand. U.S. distilleries across the country have had to navigate ongoing tariff negotiations with Europe and Canada. Data shows overall exports of American spirits fell 9% in the second quarter of 2025 compared to a year ago. Want to bring in Democratic Congressman Morgan McGarvey of Kentucky. He serves as co-chair of the House Bourbon Caucus, so I know what you'll be doing after to celebrate your birthday, which also happens to be today. Happy birthday, Congressman, and thank you for coming on with us to start it off. You know, your district is right next to the Jim Beam Claremont distillery. So how is this halt in production affecting your constituents? What are you hearing on the ground?
Yeah, it's not good, Allie. I mean, here's the thing. This isn't some abstract Washington policy. We're just a little bit north of the Jim Beam distillery right here. That means a lot of people work at the Jim Beam distillery who live in Louisville, where I'm from. And guess what? Right now, right before the holidays, they have uncertainty. They're wondering, am I going to have a job? Am I going to be able to make ends meet? This is something we've been seeing happen for a long time because of Trump's policies. And so we're not surprised by it, but it's still scary. It's still wrong, and it hurts people. It hurts everybody from the farmers who put the corn in the ground that makes bourbon to the people who put it in the bottle, the people who drive it to the stores. And so, you know, while the cost of goods are up now, job uncertainty is happening. This isn't some like big Washington think tank policy. This is hurting people right here in Kentucky.
You've actually come on this program and warned about this before, back during the summer when these tariffs were initially in place. I remember you kind of waving the flag and saying, hey, this isn't going to be good for various parts of my state. It seems like we're finally now seeing the tangible impact of these tariff policies. I know that it felt kind of abstract when we were looking at consumer price indexes and other various things that we look at to say, okay, what's the impact in the market? But then what is the answer for these folks who are feeling so much uncertainty? Is it just, we got to ride it out? It's a result of Trump's policies, or what can actually be done in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, this is not an I told you so moment, but we knew it was going to happen because we watched it happen when Trump was president before. The bourbon industry got slammed during Trump's first presidency, and guess what? This time he doubled down on the tariffs. So you mentioned that like bourbon sales were down 9% worldwide. Then you look at a place like Canada where it's down 85%. I mean, we've got bourbon companies in Kentucky who lost tens of millions of dollars in sales in Canada alone this year. So yeah, I mean, we're telling people we need to ride it out. You know, American whiskey and bourbon is still going to be a popular, resilient industry, but times are tough right now. And when it costs so much to export bourbon around the world, when you've got 16 million barrels in Kentucky right now, you've got a place like Jim Beam that says we're going to push the pause button for a year to try and, you know, just deplete some of the stock we've got. And you know, I've talked to Jim Beam. They are going to try and make sure that their full-time employees continue to have jobs, but you know, the uncertainty is there for everybody. And this is one of the things we're going to keep fighting. We're going to fight the president's trade policies. You see a bipartisan push for that in Congress, but how much damage will be done before we can fix what this president's doing?
Yeah, so we're going to continue tracking the impact there for you and your constituents at home. But when you talk about bipartisan actions, we did see the House and the Senate vote in bipartisan fashion to compel the release of the Epstein files just a few weeks ago. Now we're seeing the Department of Justice comply, but not really, because they're not doing full transparency. Instead, it's a slow drip of release of new files. Our team is actively still going through the latest drop from overnight. But what is the right method to compel the DOJ to actually comply here? Is it going along with Kana and Massey, who say they might want to move on inherent contempt? Is that not enough? Should it be impeachment? What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, this is really simple. Again, like we get in games of Washington or who's winning and who's losing. There are real victims. There are real victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Those victims deserve justice. When Congress, I think one person in the entire Congress voted against compelling the release of the Epstein files. That is not just bipartisan. That is saying everyone wants the Epstein files released. We knew the Trump administration was going to delay on this. We knew they were going to stall. There is clearly something in there they do not want the public seeing, but sunlight's the best disinfectant. Let's compel them. Let's use every tool and lever at our disposal. Let's get these victims the justice they deserve.
So given that backdrop, and I think you're right to recenter the victims and survivors in this because they are at the very center and heart of this issue, But given that, and given the way that DOJ has slow-rolled this, would you support holding Pam Bondi in inherent contempt?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to use every lever at our disposal. And so if they're in contempt because they have not complied with a congressional subpoena, no one is above the law, including the people in this administration. Release the files. Let's go see them. Yeah, there's going to have to be some redactions and things to protect victims. That's not what this administration is doing. They've already showed they don't care about the victims in this case. They care about protecting themselves. So if they have to be held in contempt to make that happen, hold them in contempt.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is arguing that no redaction should be made here. It is, of course, in the best interest of everyone if privacy and victim concerns are protected. That was never really in question. Thank you for pointing that out. Democratic Congressman Morgan McGarvey of Kentucky, thank you. And once again, happy birthday. How are you celebrating?
Well, I'm going to Boxes of Love with my union to pack some food box for people at 6 a.m. downtown. And then maybe by the time I get back, some kids will be up. And